Hi, boys and girls. Remember, we're studying buildings, and I wanted to show you another building from this book that I bought. 13 buildings children should know. These are beautiful buildings that are placed all over the world, not just in America where we live. The first picture, I remember I showed you the first picture in this book. Does anybody remember this picture that I showed you? This is called the Great Pyramid of Giza. This building is probably the oldest building in the entire world. This building is located in the country of Egypt. Okay, I wanted to show you a picture today that is located in a country in Europe called Italy. This building, do you see how it's leaning over? It looks like it might fall. This building is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This building is over 800 years old. That's almost 1,000 years old. When they started to make this building, when they started to build this building, they started out fine. But when they got to about the third level, the ground started to sink a little bit. But they decided to keep going with their original plan to make the building this tall. And they didn't know if the building was going to last for a very long time. They didn't know if the building was going to stand up or if it was just going to eventually fall over. But what's amazing about this is that for over 800 years now, this building is still there. You can travel to the country of Italy and you can still see this building today. It's still there. All right, I just wanted to share that with you. I'm going to bring this to school when we come back next week and put it in the library so you can see all these beautiful pictures of buildings. But today, I know you've seen this book before. I read it earlier this week. But today we're going to look at some different things and talk about some things in the book that we probably didn't think about the first time we read it. So it's always good. You can always go back and reread a book. You can read the book again. Remember, the name of this book is A Chair for My Mother, written and illustrated by Vera B. Williams. It's her name right here. A Chair for My Mother. And remember, this book has an award. It's called the Caldecott Award because it won some awards for the pictures in the book. Now, as you may remember, Rosa, her mother, and her grandmother lost all of their belongings in a fire from their apartment. Their family and friends gave them some things they needed for their apartment, but what they really wanted to get was, do you remember what it was that they really started saving their money for? Right, they wanted a beautiful, comfortable chair for their new apartment, for their new little house where they were living after the fire destroyed their things. What do they do to save the money to buy the chair? Do you remember? Let's find out. A Chair for My Mother. And her mother works at a diner. Remember, her mother works in the restaurant. She works very hard. My mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash the salt and pepper shakers and fill up the ketchup bottles. One time I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and she pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. She puts half of the money that she gets into the jar. What do you think she does with the other half of the money? Maybe she's saving some of her money to buy a toy. This is the jar that they started to put the money in. It takes a long time to fill up a jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I put the jar on the table. My mama empties all of her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we put all of the coins into the jar. It says that her mother puts the change that she gets from tips. What do you think tips are? Right. Tips are extra money that you would leave at the restaurant for the waiter or the waitress that helped to bring the food to your table. So she puts her tip money in the jar. We all sit in the kitchen and count the tips. Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts the savings into the jar. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we're going to take all the money and go and buy a chair. Yes, we are going to buy a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We're going to get the best chair in the whole world. This is because our other chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our other house. All of our chairs burned. Our sofa burned and everything else. It wasn't such a long time ago. Mother and I were coming home from shopping one day when we saw smoke and we saw fire engines spraying water on our building. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. The neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. My mama yelled out, "Where is Mama? Where's my abuela? Where's my grandmother?" I said, "Don't worry. Grandmother is okay. Don't worry." We were so sad when we looked inside and saw that all of our things had burned in the fire. We couldn't live there anymore. Remember, Rosa is the girl, she's telling the story, right? She's the narrator. The first day we moved into a new apartment, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were very little. My other grandpa bought us a beautiful rug, and my mother's sister Sally had made us red and white curtains to go in the kitchen. My mother's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans and silverware and dishes and everything that we would need for the kitchen. We were all very happy to be getting things for our new, apartment. That was last year, but we still had no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home from work, her feet hurt and she has no soft place to rest her body. So that is why we brought home the biggest jar we could find, and we'd filled it all the way to the top. Now the jar is full, and we are going to take all the change, the pennies and the nickels and the quarters and the dimes, roll it up into some paper and take it to the bank. After that, we took the money to the bank, and then they gave us the paper money, the bills, the $10 bills for all the money that we had in the jar. Then it was time for us to go shopping for the new chair. We went through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and small chairs, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and hard chairs. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears trying out all the chairs. Do you remember that story of Goldilocks when she went into the 3 bears' house when they weren't home, and she sat in Papa's chair and Mama's chair and Baby Bear's chair? Finally, after a long day of shopping, we found the perfect chair, and we had enough money to pay for it. It was a chair just like we imagined. My uncle, Tio Sandy came and helped us take the chair home. This was the chair that they picked. I tried out our chair in the back of Tio's truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove the truck home, but they let me sit in it while we carried it up to the door when we got home. Do you think it would be a good idea for her to sit in the chair when her uncle is driving the truck down the road? No, it wouldn't be safe to sit for Rosa to stay in the chair when they're driving in the road. She could fall out, she could get hurt. I think it's against the law. The police might give them a ticket if they were letting her ride in the truck on the road, so in the back. We set the chair right by the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I still sit in the chair. Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and looks out the window and watches the people going by. Mama loves to sit in the chair when she comes home. Sometimes I fall asleep while sitting with her. When I fall asleep with Mama, she reaches up and pulls the chain to turn off the light. Does this chair look comfortable? Do you think it would feel good to sit in it? I think so. Did you like this book? Did you like listening to it again for the second time? Did you like this book? Did you not like this book? Or did you like it a little bit? I like this book. I like every book. See you next time, guys. Bye.